Okay, we've got some data about scores from 10 pupils on a maths exam and an English exam. And the question is, can we use a product moment correlation coefficient test with these data? And what assumption must be made? So the first thing to look at is, are we dealing with actual measurements here? So these are test scores. So this is supposed to be a measurement of English ability and a measurement of maths ability. So yes, we should be all right because they're both measurements. However, I do need to make an assumption, which is what this is about. Okay, not only must they be measurements, but for the product moment correlation coefficient, we do need the data to be what we call bivariate normal data. In other words, the scores for English and maths looked at separately have to both come from normal distributions. So our assumption is, assume that the data comes from a bivariate normal distribution. Okay, part B. How would we change our mind if the data had shown, the table had shown the position of each child in the year? So that 52 might have meant they were 52nd in the year. This 71 might have meant they were 71st. Well, we can no longer say yes to this. We can't use the product moment because instead of dealing with measurements, I'd be dealing with rank data, and that needs its own particular kind of test. So we say we can't use the product moment correlation coefficient because the data would be ranks and not measurements. And then finally part C, why might our conclusion from the test mentioned in A, so if we did this test, why would it not necessarily be valid for all pupils? Well, I need to look at what they tell me and what they don't tell me about the 10 pupils. So we've got 10 pupils. What they tell me is that they're all from one school. So this says all pupils, so data from one school isn't going to necessarily give me the correct conclusion about all pupils. So data is from one school only, so conclusions may not apply to other schools. And the other point is what they don't tell me about this sample of 10 pupils is how it was picked. It could have been a convenient sample. So even for this school, we don't know that the sampling was random. So because the sampling may not have been random, the conclusion may not even be valid for this school. So that deals with that question.